With over 8 million broadcasts and over 600 million viewers engaged monthly, Restream is the #1 tool to increase your live audience organically. Restream enables you to create, analyze, and share your high-quality streams to over 30 different social networks at once. In this video, we'll go over all the different parts of Restream, from Restream Studio to our analytics, combined chat, events, and more. So let's get right into it. Multi-streaming is the next step in the evolution of content creation, and Restream takes us a step further by enabling broadcasters to escape platform boundaries. Restream makes it effortless to grow your core audience across all of your existing social platforms without needing to spend extra time directing your audience to just one platform.
Welcome, College Hoops fans, to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. We're glad to have you along for what's sure to be another outstanding season of college hoops action. I'm Greg Gumbel, and with me at the anchor desk, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're ready to give you a look ahead to all the ups and downs of the upcoming season, so let's get the ball rolling with the best teams in the nation in the very first Top 25 poll of the season. Here are the Big Five, the top teams in the country as we begin the season. The UCLA Bruins come in as the number one ranked team, followed by Texas, Vanderbilt, Kansas State, and Minnesota. What do you think of the top five teams going into the year, Clark?
Those are some terrific teams, Greg. And the thing I find most fascinating about the top five is the number of contrasting styles we see here. These teams couldn't be more different. And I love when we have that kind of diversity at the top of the poll.
The UCLA Bruins are projected as the favorites here in the early going. A pair of players named Texas. Minnesota is the number five. Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
The upside of these teams far outweighs the downside. Expect at least half of these teams to finish the season in the top 10, and one or two of them have a chance to be right at the top.
The USC Trojans, the number 6 team, have been talked about quite a bit as we head into the season. They're the defending champs, but they're going to have a tough road to hoe to hold on to their crown.
At least they're still there in the poll. That means a lot of the experts still think this team is going to be strong. I like to see what kind of start they get off to before I decide whether they have the ability to repeat.
The North Carolina State. How about this list?
This is a year, Greg, where I think a few of the teams on this end of the poll really stand out above the others. There are a handful of these teams that are potential sleeping giants.
The Seton Hall Pirates, the number 18 team, could be one to watch. They bring back the Oklahoma Sooners, There was no shortage of movement in the coaching ranks during the offseason. The Oregon State coach is one of the. We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players in the nation and unveil the list of our preseason All-Americans. There before you are the 5 first-team All-Americans as the Providence. Let's move on to, and finally, let's move on to the second-team All-Americans. Not such Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Frazier is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there is anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
It was a magical week for him, Clark, no doubt about it. The fans really got behind him as the points kept piling up, and you could see him feed off their energy. He's a cult hero to those people now, and if he has a few more weeks like this one, he'll be one of the all-time legends at that university. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This is a special rivalry in college basketball. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, or even what year for that matter, when these two get together. You can always count on a fierce competitive contest.
North Carolina plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
But that's not the only item on the schedule that has NCAA fans buzzing. A meeting between a pair of top 10 teams is always entertaining, and there's certain to be plenty of action in this game. Neither side is going to give an inch in this contest. You can be sure of that.
Arizona would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We had a pair of top 10 teams duking it out, Clark, in our first featured game. USC beat UCLA.
This was like a heavyweight fight back and forth, and both sides landed their fair share of big punches. You've got to expect that from a pair of top 10 teams like these, and they did not let us down. Dixon had the hot hand on the winning side. His double-double really gave his team the lift they needed. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Oregon State got the better of Arizona.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. Arizona was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Oregon State can probably take something away from this win and build on it over the next few games. You can see by the highlights that they were really firing on all cylinders. Coach had a big smile on his face after this one, and I'm sure he's hoping this is the start of something special, too.
That's our show, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll reveal the best of the little guys in our mid-major top 10 list, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But first, let's take a look ahead at some absolutely huge battles coming up this week in college basketball. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Georgetown would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
And there's another game on the agenda that's too juicy to ignore. Anytime a pair of top 5 teams squares off, it has the potential for major ramifications when the tournament committee gets together to discuss potential #1 seeds come March.
Arizona plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
Now it's time to reveal our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college basketball. You're looking at the future Cinderellas of the NCAA tournament.
Top to bottom, they're certainly not as strong as a list of the top 10 major conference teams, but one or two of them have just as much talent as any of those teams, especially the team in the top spot.
Creighton is setting themselves apart from the other mid-majors in more ways than one, but what really impresses me is their imposing strength of schedule. They've adopted the anyone, anywhere scheduling philosophy, and it's transformed them into a very dangerous opponent. Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our games of the week. We get started with an important conference battle in the Big East. Connecticut outdid Cincinnati.
Both of these teams are jostling for position at this point in the season. We're in that critical part of the year when everybody's trying to get hot before the postseason. Momentum is everything right now. Connecticut was deadly from long range. Their three-point shooting made a huge difference. I don't know if they came into this game with a plan to attack from long range, but that's definitely the way it turned out. And when you keep knocking down threes again and again like they were, it just deflates the opponent.
And what a game we had as 2 top 10 teams squared off. Arizona dismantled UCLA.
This was like a heavyweight fight back and forth, and both sides landed their fair share of big punches. You've got to expect that from a pair of top 10 teams like these, and they did not let us down. Crumbly took care of business in this one. His 15 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, We're all set to show, but before we unveil the brackets, it's time to talk about the topic that had the Arizona on to the and fun. Now, here's how the brackets. First up, the Arizona, and now next up, our number 7 seed is from the there next the looking into on the Florida State. Our next up is. And now on the surface. And finally, let's have a look at the Atlanta Regional. The Texas Tech. Next up is Stanford. USC comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 20-13. And then